probably since my mom had passed away that nursing isn't really something that my heart is in anymore, and it has a lot to do with the fact that the way our world is and the way I always did. I used to say most of my years worked as a nurse in long-term care and rehab, and alcohol rehab too, but mostly rehab. We saw a lot of abuse and couldn't help those that, you know, weren't getting their baths or weren't getting whatever, you know, and I was always that person that wanted to, you know, I worked 70 hours a week just so I knew that that person got their wound care done or, you know, but it was starting after being in recovery for, at that point, whatever it was, 6, 7 years, that it was breaking me again. You know, I just wanted to escape it all. And I know that's what gambling did. It made my mind go to a place that I no longer thought about all my problems and the ugliness of our world. So after mom passed away, I just kind of said, this is not what I want to be doing. You know, I did take care of people in their homes, and that's where my heart is. I've always been the type of person that wants to help those that are less fortunate. You know, I have a lot to give, and that's, I think, what God has always wanted me to do. But in the last couple of years, I've gotten into taking care of autistic children, and my grandson had a little bit to do with that. But the unbelievable warmth that it gives me, the unbelievable feeling of I'm a good person, you know, I'm not evil. The biggest thing that came from the things that have happened to me is that I have never been in a serious relationship since I got divorced. I've been divorced since 2013. We were together 22 years. But and I don't know if it'll ever come, and it doesn't matter because there's many forms of love. There's not sexual love, obviously. That's what my autistic children give me. That's what obviously my family gives me. But I feel broken. I have always felt broken that way, and I just don't feel that it's a possibility that I ever have that type of relationship that a man and a woman have, because I'm just I never can tell when I'm gonna have those flashbacks. So, you know, the recovery is different for everyone, obviously, but love is what it's all about, and that's what gets me through every day, is the love that I have from God, from my family, from my children, from my patients, you know. I'm just grateful to be here and be grateful to be surrounded by all.
And when Sand and I got together, yeah, bring some fire in now. When Sand and I got together, was our greatest volunteer at the Love Center in Sheboygan. She took the keys and made sure that place stayed open, because I made a commitment to society over a microphone like this. We're 24 hours a day. And I had 23 volunteers that showed up. About that same handful of people right now, right? 23 people showed up the opening night, all saying, we want to help. And when it came to the day-to-day grind of keeping the place open 24 hours a day, we had probably about 3 or 4, and Wendy was one of them, that helped Sand and I keep that place cranking. So Greg Pratt was there, Corey was there a lot. Scrat came on it a couple. I think we had a weekend once that I asked you to make sure that all the young people, because I didn't expect it to be a youth ministry, and it turned into 300 kids that were under 18 years old. We had our hands full. We had a total of almost 700 people in 7 months. So we were averaging 100 new people coming through the door every month. And it was, and I didn't know about abuse like my granddaughter is going to share. I didn't know as many young people were abused. It was like, I always thought it was really rare, you know? We got running this place and Sam goes, oh no, those are the numbers. Our young people out of the 300 that came, they came because they knew they were gonna get love that they couldn't get back at home. They just weren't getting it. And they some of them said, no, can I eat? And I'm like, well, you know, you're not homeless, you know, you can go home. He said, my parents get disability checks and they get the food card and they buy steak for themselves and they give us ramen noodles. I'd rather eat here at the Love Center. I was feeding 15, 20, 25 kids every day. I'm cooking up ramen noodles, you know, myself, but then I chop up hot dogs and I get real creative with what we had for a budget, you know. Oh, I'm sorry. So the point is that the Love Center, we needed help. Wendy, you have served. And we appreciate you so much. So I was really grateful that you opened up today. I did want to note one thing though, because I've been there. I did my 100 days in jail. She did 90 days in jail. And I just want to tell you, and I know Nathan goes in and talks to people that are incarcerated. But if you're not doing that,
It's very humbling. I think that's probably what got me through it all, to be honest with you.
yeah, and
I didn't realize it.
how many came to Sam and I?
Just saying, you,
We were the only ones that visited you in 90 days. This is what I'm trying to get across.
but the people
For some reason say, oh, the pastor will do that.
oh, no, I have
You
to,
know,
yeah, you get
and
it.
I gotta ask you a question. You know that line of scripture, so it doesn't say the pastor is supposed to go visit the people in prison. It says we are supposed to visit those that are in prison. We. I'm not trying to guilt trip or shame anybody.
Well, that's why this is important, because I think a lot of people that are going, I'm sorry. I think that the reason why this is important is because a lot of people that are going through these different forms of recovery, whether it be sexual, whether it be gambling or drinking or drugs or whatever, don't realize, or even the people that aren't going through, don't realize when you're going through it, you have so much shame and guilt.
Yes.
That the tiniest little thing, like somebody saying, I love you, or going, you know, and supporting you is what gets you through it. You know, I'm so grateful to be here and help whoever I can, because that's what it's about.
That's what it's about. So Scribe, what have I taught for this entire time? Shame and guilt come from the devil. And conviction comes from,
Right.
yeah. So we want to get conviction because that conviction is going to say, oh, no. I better not do that, because if I do that, I might get arrested again. I better not do that, or, you know, I might have a drunk driving if I do that. You know, I might better not do that. Conviction that says, no, don't do it. Don't do it. That's his voice.
Mhm.
But that shame and that guilt that wants you to stay down and feel like a dirty, rotten, no good. That's the evil voice. And I think it's so important when we're recovering to differentiate the voices in our head. Because I used to tell people at an AA or an NA meeting, there's a little guy on this shoulder, a little guy on that shoulder. Boy, that guy has a big mouth with the pitchfork and horns. Okay, he's really got a big mouth. Anyway, that being said, this is my granddaughter, and at 10 years old, she went through some things, and it's very hard for me to have her speak because it's my son that was with my granddaughter, and it's so humiliating, but hey, it's what we process. It's what we have to do, because now it's continuing in my family. You know, my grandfather did it to my mother, right? I skipped it because I didn't do it, all right? And I won't do it. But somehow it got through to my son and he did some things, and I'll let her talk about that.
Hey, everybody. Let's start speaking. I'm gonna completely be honest. I won't cry about this. I've talked about it way too many times. I'm way too open about it. I am not afraid of it. He told me I don't have to go into detail. I'm probably not going to for the sake of you guys, but I don't have a problem with it. Starting off, whether or not you forgive yourself, I want you to know you are always forgiven. And that is the most important part of everything. That's the most important part of forgiving yourself, is understanding that you are forgiven, that you have been through it, you've gotten through it, and you are no longer in yesterday. So,
Hallelujah.
preach it, sister. Trying.
My grandpa was talking too much.
Okay. Well, like you said, my father, I mean, from the beginning of my life had issues. He didn't believe that he deserved me. He didn't want really anything to do with me, not because he hated me, but because he didn't feel like he deserved the life that he made. And it was hard for my mom, being a single mom at 18. She had me when she was 17, and trying to work through her own trauma that she went through from her mom, who was an alcoholic, and her dad, who was and is a drug addict. And just all of what she went through, even after giving birth, having to go home and scrub the floors, break open her stitches because her mom couldn't care less. And I lived with my grandparents for a good chunk of my life, my great grandparents. Until my great grandfather passed away. And then we finally moved out, and my mom was struggling with money, and the court told my dad he could either pay half of what she needed for daycare or take me in for whatever time my mom works. And he didn't have money. He had, he had seen my stepmother, Christina, and she had a son, and he was taking care of them, and he didn't have the money for that. So he took me in, and that is when my life went kablooey. It did not go well. It started with a lot of physical abuse, a lot. I mean, it was small things that slowly added up over time, and I learned how to shut myself off. I learned how to close it off. I learned how to turn it off. Everything I felt, I hid it because I wasn't allowed to feel emotions, because that was talking back. That was misbehaving. And so I never really was open about the way that I felt. And then as I got older, as things progressed, it turned into verbal manipulation. It turned into grooming. It turned into, mental, physical, sexual, just every form of abuse is just what I was going through. And it was hard for the most part because it distanced me from my mom. I felt alone. And no one understood why I felt alone, because I had so many people in my life. But when you're going through something that you can't tell anybody, you feel so alone. When your dad is telling you that your mom is a monster, when he's calling you like her, when at 8 years old you go to your mom and you're like, "Mom, I'm so scared." Because he threatened to get worse. He's threatened to be more violent. And you tell her, not for the sake of yourself, but for the sake of your younger siblings, that you are so afraid that one of you is going to actually genuinely get extremely hurt. And she goes and tells the courts, and the courts let him off with a warning because he tells the courts that I'm insane. I'm mentally ill. I need to be put into a mental hospital because I'm psychotic. That I touch animals, that I touch my brothers, that it's my fault. And he had to. And so they put that blame on you. Your mom takes you away from them, and then they yell at you. they take things away from you that you should have, like your brother's birthday party, and then they hold that over your head for 4 more years. They say, well, you never went to your brother's 8th birthday party. He never forgave you for that. And you sit with those things in the back of your mind, and it all adds up. And then around 10 to 11, it went on for a while, but it didn't start as touching. You know, it started as that mental thing where he tried to make the things he was doing okay. This is how a father and daughter cuddle. This is how they do things together. This is the way it goes. And I was so deprived of that love and that attention from my dad that I was like, yeah, this is how it is supposed to be. And I was okay with it. I mean, and there were those times where, you know, you feel that pit in your stomach and you're stuck like a deer in headlights and you just cry. And there's nothing you can do. You can't fight him. He's 6'5". He's like 250 pounds. What am I supposed to do? I'm a child, you know, and it is hard. It is hard. And then my mom came to me after my dad ran away to Florida, because him and my stepmom were going through stuff, and they were always going through stuff. I mean, it wasn't just me being abused, it was them. She would throw him down flights of stairs, and he would push her into walls, and she would tell him every day, who are they going to believe, the 4'11" woman or the 6'5" man? And he knew that she was right, that they would believe her, and he was too afraid to talk about it. And he would sit in his room and he would blast his music. He would smoke his weed, and it was so bad. It was so bad. He was escaping constantly. And so when he ran away, because we got eventually our lease ran out on the place we were in, and he broke up with my stepmom. I mean, they had been broken up, sleeping in separate rooms, but they lived together for my younger brothers. And I mean, my mom came in my room one day, and I had gotten my first phone at around 10 years old. And it had parental controls on it and whatever, but I found a way around those things. You know, I was so alone that I found dependency in random people online. I found that the only way I felt loved was through interactions that were inappropriate and not right for my needs. Right. And so I got in trouble with that. Before I go to work, she asked me about it. She comes in my room, she's like, you know what I'm here to talk to you about? I was like, I was talking to people on Roblox. And she's like, no, yeah. Did your dad ever touch you? And my face dropped because I had no clue how she had figured it out. I didn't know how much she knew. I didn't know if she knew about him calling me into his room at 11 o'clock at night and telling me that he wants to spend time with me, so he's letting me stay up past my bedtime. I didn't know if she knew about him forcing himself into my bed and he said no millions of times. I didn't know if she knew about any of that. And I mean, I didn't say a word. I didn't. My stepmom sat on my bed. I didn't say a word. And I just looked at them like a puppy. Like I was so scared. And then, of course, I had to go through at least 5 police stations, like 1 million written and spoken reports, because it didn't happen in this town, but it didn't happen in this city. So I had to keep going back and forth and back and forth, and finally, you know, he's talked to, he's sentenced. And my mom comes to me and she asks me, do you want to give him the plea deal? He'll have a year in jail. He'll come out, he'll have 30 years probation. He can't leave the state, but he won't be registered as a sex offender. And he can talk to you if he wants to through a government mandated app. And I said, yeah, because I didn't want to take away my brother's chance of having a father. I didn't want to make that decision for them because I was avoiding the guilt. I didn't want that. And so that's what ended up happening. And around 12 or 13, I had an argument with my mom, a huge blow up. And she told me if my dad had loved me, he would have reached out already. And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, he's been out for 6 months, but I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want to crush you. And I had guilt for putting him away. I had guilt for putting him in jail. I didn't want to ruin his whole life. That's why I gave him the second chance. That's why I let him not be a sex offender, because I felt so guilty for something that people don't get the opportunity to do all the time. If I went back, I would put him away as long as possible to keep him away from anybody else that he could possibly hurt, because he needs help. And I want to preface this by saying I hold no hatred towards anybody, because he went through things that I can't imagine and I can't describe, but that's an excuse him putting me through things that other people can't see or relate to or describe, that people my age will argue with me back and forth about, telling me that I'm not a virgin if I say I am. And, it's this like unfairness. And I went through so much mentally at this point. I mean, I was suicidal at 7 years old. I, in my lifetime, had tried to commit at least 26 times. And the suicidal ideation never goes with me. There's always that little voice in the back that's like, would it be better if I was, if I did this? And, I struggle with figuring out I'm a little neurodivergent a lot later. And when I struggle with sensory issues, when I'm lacking that sensory, I'll hit myself. I will hurt myself because it's that sensory. And I think figuring that out while also going through this psychosis, when my dad was put away, where I would look at a poster on my wall and I would apologize. And that PTSD where you just sit and you can't say another word, but I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that I did that to you, because all I wanted, even when he was put away, even after everything he did to me, was for him to love me. That's all anybody wants. It's just for their parents to love them. But I was dealt bad cards. And like I said, I ruined my relationship with my mom that she didn't even know was ruined. She didn't know why I didn't like her. She didn't know everything that was being said to me. She didn't know anything. She didn't know how bad I wanted her to come and pick me up and keep me. Every time I went home from my dad's house and I would tell my mom, don't make me go back, it felt like betrayal every time I did. And the reason that my mom take me back was because on top of that, he was dating a heroin addict, and she was so in love with him, and she was dealing with so many things from her trauma and her childhood where she felt like she could save him. And in order to save him, that meant I couldn't be there because it wasn't safe. It wasn't safe for a kid. And that's the main reason why I felt like my mom abandoned me. Why I felt like everyone in my life abandoned me. I felt
Like grandpa.
okay, but you weren't there.
Grandpa never abandoned you.
Big question, man.
You did not text her back yesterday when she. Oh, yeah.
I didn't text her.
I mean, honestly, at that time in my life, I felt like everyone hated me. I felt like all of my family despised me, that I was gross. And then I get questions from my family about this thing that I didn't even go forth about. It makes that guilt worse, because it's hard to imagine that your son or your daughter or your family member could ever do anything like that. So they sit and they look me in the face and they tell me they don't believe me.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't fathom that these people that I love so dearly, that are in my life, that are with me, wouldn't believe something so gross, so vile. And it's okay. Obviously, it's fine. I obviously understand now, but when you're alone at 12 years old, 11 years old, 10 years old, you just want one person to believe you, to understand you. And I'm sure, some people would understand and relate to that. I mean, it's a battle. It is. And it was hard for me and my mom, especially. I mean, my mom is my best friend now. She would do anything in her power to make me happy, because now she struggles with the guilt. she struggles with the guilt that any family member would, that I couldn't save you, I couldn't help you, I didn't know. And she's like, why didn't I know? And so it took a long time for me and my mom to become best friends like we are now, to be so close as we are now. And there's still things I'll tell my mom sometimes where I'm like, I remember when I hated you and I thought you hated me. And she's like, no. I'm like, yeah. And she just doesn't, she never knew how I was feeling and what I was being fed, you know, and then there's also losing half of my family. When my stepmom moved away, she was afraid that she didn't know if I was contact my dad. She didn't know if there was something going on that she wanted to protect my brothers from, so she forbade them to talk to me. I mean, my brother Jack, he was my stepbrother, he was a year older than me, I grew up with him, he was like my other half, my twin, we went through everything together, we were so entwined and trauma bonded. And I mean, we would get these make us feel better because we were so alone in this, but we were alone together, and that's what made it special. But I was banished from talking to him, because they were scared he was going to run his mouth and give me their address, and then I tell my dad or something like that. And so I lost everyone on my stepmom's side of the family. I lost those Sundays where I would go thrifting and pick out lunch, and I lost my animals, my brothers, the kids that I practically raised, that I would shelter while they were screaming and fighting and breaking glass in the hallway, that I would try to distract from all of these bad things so that they didn't have to feel alone if I did. You know, that was hard. It still is hard. I mean, he sent me a voice message is that he will remember me forever. That he can't believe it's been 4 or 5 years since I last seen him. It'll be 5 in November. And I can't believe that he's going to be the age I am right now when I finally get to see him. It is a hard thing. It's a very, very hard thing. And I don't get to watch him grow up. And he sits with pictures of me in his room and shows them to my youngest brother, who doesn't even remember who I am anymore. Sorry, I said I wouldn't cry, but this part makes me really emotional because I'm so maternal towards them. I'm so empathetic, and I hate that I can't do anything about it. And that's the one thing that I think I feel so guilty about, is that I can't go and grab those children that I love, and I can't hug them. I can't tell them it's going to be okay. And I just wait. I wait. I wait for them to come, and I cannot wait. You know, my brother's been collecting birthday gifts and Christmas gifts for me every single year. My stepmom had to take my pictures down from the living room. She couldn't look at them without crying. It's very hard to lose half of everything that you do your almost your entire life. You grew up with those. And I think my problem is that I'm so like, I think I can save everybody. I think I can help everybody. I mean, my best friend, she's been sober for a couple months. And she was bad. She was on oxy. She was snorting whatever she could. She tried coke, and she's my best friend. And I was a mom. And I sit and I tried to save her. She would come into my house, stumble in my house. She'd be drunk. I'd take her upstairs and I would wipe down her face and she had blood all over her from being outside. And I would sit with her, and anytime she asked me to come over, she was over. And then I moved recently, and she's not next door anymore, and I can't be there. And, I try so hard to save whoever I can. I couldn't hate anyone because I know how hard it is to be hated. And I mean, you gotta think about, I'm not old enough to make all of the mistakes that you've made in your life. I can't gamble, I can't go legally buy alcohol, I can't do any of that, I'm not that old.
Oh, yeah.
I just haven't had the time to go and make those mistakes, and healing when you have no outlet, no way to release is hard. And because people find these coping mechanisms in so many ways, and so many different addictions, and I feel personally that addictions never truly go away. You will always be addicted to something. And that doesn't always have to be a bad thing. Like my grandma is addicted to talking about his stuff. And, Sandy's addicted to loving my grandpa talking about his stuff. And, I mean, whether you are addicted to religion or working out or all of these things, you'll always have something in your heart that you are so obsessed with, addicted to. And for me, it's just being there all the time for whoever needs.
For loving.
It's for love.
I can share it. I love it.
Well,
I get you.
I couldn't. And I mean, part of me being so young means I'm in school. I'm in high school. And unfortunately, I was in middle school. And through middle school, I mean, it was the worst. They moo at me in the hallways and they call me fat. They call me a fag. They call me a fat fag. And they call me all sorts of slurs. And they say terrible.
It's in a Lutheran school she's going to too, so.
That's
the
the
worst.
word, sad.
The worst. I mean, and my
Kids are mean, hey. Does everybody
Yeah.
understand?
Oh, yeah.
Thing describing with the bully?
he was probably the bully.
No, he got bullied.
I
I
mean,
was the bully.
my grandpa knows.
I was a kid, huh?
I go to a Lutheran private school, but I am Lutheran. I believe in Christ and don't know much about this religion or even what the name of it is.
We
But
don't have a religion. We follow the truth.
and I believe in Christ. I believe in Jesus. I believe in those things because it's easier for me to believe those things. Because I can look at myself every day and say, he died for me and he loves me, and that's okay. That's okay. It's okay for me to love myself because that's what he wants me to do.
Yeah.
And it's a good way to reassure yourself, and so I was scarred from religion my whole life. My dad, he had religious trauma from his mom.
From me,
Okay. Yeah,
That's
I didn't say it. I didn't say it.
I made sure that those kids were on their knees praying.
He had that religious trauma, and so he did not want to anything. He didn't want to force us to believe a single thing. He let us free roam, and he told my mom that. And my mom is Christian, and she decided to respect us. She was like, okay, that's fine, and we won't baptize her for that. And she can choose to be baptized because that's what he wanted. And so, around 10 years old, no, 10. This is a very crazy timeline that I don't believe is coincidental, and you can make your own opinion on that, but around 10 years old is when I got baptized. I went to church, I got baptized, and then the worst of the worst happened. But it got me out of that house. And then I go through 6th grade and I'm taken away from my best friend. I still best friend with her. It's been 6 years, I think, and I love her very dearly, but I'm taken away from my best friend. My mom doesn't want me around her. She's a bad influence because she likes to wear cat ears. Yeah, I know.
She wore cat ears to bed last night, so don't let her just blame her friend. What was that thing you had in your head?
You mean my sleeping?
A sleeping mask, okay, well, whatever.
It's gotta be pictured.
Looks like little kitty ears or something. I was like, wow, that's a pretty cool. It's all good to wear to bed at night. I don't have a litter box, you're fine.
Well, no, we didn't wear cat ears to bed last night, but, my mom didn't want her around me because she was scared that I was being influenced into something she didn't want me to explore. So, I was very upset. I mean, my mom told me beginning of 6th grade, she was like, this is your last year at school. And this is the longest I've been to school. Kewaskum was the longest school I had ever partaken in. And I was in cheer at Kewaskum. I was in love with Kewaskum. I was in love with my friends. I didn't like the other people, but I loved my friends. And I was very upset because my mom told me beginning of 6th grade that it was my last year and that I was going to be switching to a Lutheran private school. And I was mad because private school, rich kids, no, they're privileged, they're mean, they're ruthless. I don't want that. Like, I'm poor, I can't relate. I'm gonna show up in my Reeboks and they're gonna make fun of me. And so I went through sixth grade, very sad. And I'm a bit of a control freak, unfortunately, so there was a lot of falling outs with me and my friends where I was a little bit too pushy. I was a little bit too controlling. And I'm controlling because change upsets me. Change makes me scared. And I got out of that school and I started seventh grade and I realized that half of my friends after I left started talking about me. One of them said he prays I never come back because I'm going to a Lutheran school. One of them said that they never liked me anyway. Two of them did, three of them did talk bad about me, but most of them did. And I was thankful, honestly, at that point that I had left because I realized that there was a reason. There was a reasoning for me to cry momentarily and then realize they were all fake.
Fake friends. I'm writing a song about that right now. Fake friends, it's called.
I started seventh grade and it doesn't go well. There was one kid in my class, he pinpointed me to the millisecond because I'm a big lady, so he would fat shame me and poke at me and make me run out of class crying. And other than that, I excelled. I excelled with a higher challenge. I then realized that I was so passionate about this way that they would teach, the way that I was learning, which is kind of like pre-learning. And so I got straight A's pretty much. I mean, straight A's in a private school is hard, very hard. And then eighth grade year comes around and the kid who was bullying me was an eighth grader. So he leaves and the two other girls that would pick on me too, they left. And with me, one other girl, three guys. And I was best friends with all of them. Besides one girl. She made a rumor about me. She said that I sexually assault my male friends. Yeah. That's so none of us liked her because we were the only 5 people in my grade, so they knew it wasn't true, so her rumor wasn't going anywhere, but eighth grade was very good year. And I came into that school so cold-hearted, so very cold-hearted, because when I was going through what I was going through, I was like, why is this happening to me? And then I went into a little bit of Satanism, and I was like, Satan, take me because he won't. And I would ask Satan to save me. I asked him to save me because God wasn't doing it. Or I didn't think he was at least. But I come into this school and I'm closed off and I start learning and reading and challenging my pastor because what I do best is challenging me. So I challenge my pastor, I ask him questions. I'm like, but what about this? And I pose my thoughts and I read and I'm very good at reading and very good at understanding things. So I tell them my opinions. And they're like, okay, you're right. And I was like, yeah, I am right. And that's how it went most of the time. Yeah.
You would think it would be bad of me. Jody and I have to leave. I am just impressed with your story.
Yeah. They already stayed like way longer.
We have to pick
Yeah.
up
You can go.
2 special needs individuals that are,
Please.
Wait, you need to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have blinked if you weren't at work. I was like, okay.
no, I appreciate you guys bringing it up. That was really cool.
All right.
And that's why I like small groups.
I'll be back.
Because we can talk to each other. This doesn't have to be a sermon, right? We can just communicate and we can share and we can care for each other. That's why I've been building small groups now for so long. So, you know, just a couple of key points. Remember, this is a 15-year-old. Okay, and I just want to say that the beauty of this platform that Sam and I have had the privilege that God has put us in this position is we can help people out of the platform so that they can, because this is the stuff they won't talk about in the majority of the religious circles. They just don't, okay?
Well, and people in general don't because of shame.
Right,
Shame.
people in general don't because of shame, yeah,
Right. They
so,
normalize shaming.
Right.
They normalize it very badly. I mean, I have gotten so many like comments on, social media where they're like, like I mentioned before, where they tell me I'm not a virgin, and they're like, you're not a virgin, and I'm like, well, you can't decide that.
Right. And the other side of that is there was obvious real abuse, but there was not intercourse, and that
No,
is
no.
on the thing. So she is really a virgin.
I am really, I just do not want to believe it. It's
Yeah,
like people
and-
listen to all of
that doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
No.
My son inappropriately did things with my granddaughter,
Yes.
and it's really hard to be here listening to all this
Of course,
again.
of course.
Because I've talked to her about it, and then after I talked to her, she opened up like she did. Just now, my son's like, you're taking her side. She's
Yeah. Likes to paint.
I
things
mean,
with that
it's
stuff.
so hard to be the father and the grandfather in the situation, but I'm dealing with it. You know what I'm saying?
The bottom line, it all comes down to love.
Yeah.
It just does. It just,
And that's what I told my son anyway. I said, your daughter still loves you. I said, I still love you. I'm not throwing you in the garbage can because you made a mistake. And I also told him very clearly, if you wouldn't have been getting high, which I tried to help you get clean, you probably wouldn't have done all of this. Because what does it say in scripture? That drugs are witchcraft and sorcery.
I would say gateways.
Yeah,
it's a good way to put it.
it just opens the door to all of this stuff that happens. So we have an opportunity to see somebody at a young age, like myself. I got clean at 21, but I went to rehab when I was 15. But when we went to rehab, we didn't talk about the sexual stuff. All we talked about was drugs.
I would also, wait, I would like to know, I have never had the opportunity to speak about this with the therapist. I mean, the therapist I see right now, she's for school because I struggle with school people. But other than that, my one therapist I saw that I was starting to delve into it with, she no showed me and ghosted me, and I had to wait months to even get into that program. And it was during COVID times, so she up and dipped and didn't call us back, and they wouldn't call us back, the office wouldn't, so I wasn't able to get a therapy session in that way. I wasn't able to see anybody like that. I mean, my first therapist dipped on me, my second one, they just stopped calling us back by appointment. I mean, it was hard, and I told my therapist when I started recently, about the beginning or middle-ish of last year, I said, I want you to know, I don't have a problem with saying this stuff. It doesn't bother me because I've said it so many times, but what does bother me is if you are not consistent with me and you end up abandoning me. I was like, I've already had so many bad experiences with therapy, but still, even in therapy, sometimes they don't cover that. And she asked me 3 weeks ago, I haven't had an appointment in a while, but she asked me 3 weeks ago, she was like, do you want to start delving into that before school starts? I was like, yeah. It doesn't really affect me in social structures or in school or anything like that. If anything, it's a blessing because it helps me understand other people. Helps me understand what they're going through, helps me understand their trauma, and a lot of my friends have gone through it. I know a lot of people who have gone through it. I mean, it is so normal now.
And I think it's important that you are going through it. I had things happen to me I'm 56 years old. I had things happen to me probably since I was born. Unfortunately, I don't remember all those things, but the things I do remember started at a very young age of 9. I didn't deal with any of those things until I was almost 30.
Right.
Yeah,
You know?
and same thing for me. I did want to note that all of the people that Stan went through.
I didn't even know some of them,
I went to the father and I said, you do know what Uncle Harry did to me when I was a little boy, right? He goes, I don't want to hear that effing.
Of course not. My mother called me effing
So when I
liar.
shut up, and their mom did that similar thing, and I love Linda to her last breath. I mean,
Right.
so it's not the lack of love,
No,
and neither for my father at 84 years old, but he does not want to talk about it.
well, denial is a
That's
risk.
why he's not here. He knows darn well that this stuff was gonna be.
It's also
going on.
generational.
Well,
It's generational curse, just like the scripture says.
denial is risk.
Generation,
I do.
Yes.
I mean,
It may not be the one you do, but I still know the word.
Well, it's,
It's mine.
the word is the word, you know?
Well, right.
Uh,
It's interpreted in many different ways.
interpreted different ways at times, but it's still, truth is the truth, you
Right.
know?
I would say that your father probably going through what you went through, where you won't accept it.
Well, there was some.
Right.
So the thing is, I know that you accept it. However, you still had
Why
that moment where you asked me if it was altered. And you still had that moment where you asked me if I was manipulated because it is hard to.
That was a long time ago. That was like 4 years ago.
That was 3 years ago, and I got home and my mom said if she would have been home, he said that she would have beat him up.
She would beat me up.
She said she would have punched you. I'm so sorry. My mom does not play about that stuff.
Her mom is awesome, so I learned to punch me.
Oh, she said she would have beat you up. She was like, I was flung right away. He said that in front of me.
Well, I will just tell you that when Sam and I listened to what you said, we were very compelled with everything. But we were in the middle, and when my son said, you know, you're taking her side, I said, I'm
Not
not
about
taking
that.
any sides. This is not about sides, you know?
But that's.
It's about something really tragic that obviously happened, you know? And I don't like to have to be in the middle of this at all. But we are, and that's just the way it
That's
is.
probably what your dad was going through with his brother.
Well, what Sam told me, and she helped me a lot with this is part of our marriage, therapy, she kind of was listening to the whole thing. She said, do you ever realize the shame and the guilt that your father felt that he would go off as a workaholic and work all the time and
It was
stay away
so
and leave you with a pedophile
Right.
wife, mother that was abusing all 3 of you boys until the sheriff's department took her out in handcuffs? I mean, 9 years old I was when that happened. And my dad was pounding on the door. This was gonna be tonight's story, so I won't get into it, but yeah. My dad did not believe that this happened, you know, to me. And it's like, well, you know what happened to us, but what Sam said to me is he probably feels really, really bad that he left you kids with a crazy wife.
That's how my mom.
She was classified schizophrenic, so, but yeah. That being said,
Oh,
we do believe you.
listen, guys, you don't have to believe.
We do believe.
You don't have to, because I believe that's the good part. I mean, because I.
There you go.
That.
There you go.
That point where I was like, am I just making it up? Am I just misremembering things? Was I over dramatic? Did I not feel that way? Did it not happen? Because everybody was telling me it couldn't have happened. My son would never do that. My brother would never do that. My whatever uncle, cousin, whoever, they
Friend.
would never do that. Right, my friend would never do that. And that's the hard part about it, because you have to be understanding to those people and know where they're coming from, but you also feel so hurt and pained that they've known you for so long and they still can't believe you.
And the stories of that men get beat up when they go to jail.
They're true.
Nehemiah cried on the phone with me and told me they almost beat him to death when he was in jail.
I'm not
They said,
bad about that. Only because he beat 3 children or 4 children for years. So I didn't feel too bad about that. I felt like it was kind of a little bit of payback. It was that humility thing. That
we didn't realize that he was physically abusing the children.
Oh, yeah.
That was.
Oh, yeah. That's why I told my mom about it. I was so scared that he was going to like actually hurt us and cut us open, because he held up a metal spatula with the ridges, you know, the one that's hollow on the other side and it has that sharp metal, and he held it up and he said, I will beat you with the sharp metal part if you won't take the regular beatings. And that grooming that I was talking about, it started when I was really young. That's why that whole like, even if it's smoking. I mean, it started when I was young. He used to like mentally deprecate me and make me made me feel special. He would tell me that he didn't hit me as hard because I didn't cry or cover my butt like my brothers, but that's because I was disassociating. I was staring into the wall and just pretending it wasn't happening. You know, so that mental thing where they slowly work it into you when they're, especially when they're like, what's the word?
Brainwashing.
Not brainwashing, just like
Gaslight.
manipulative, what's the other word for manipulative?
Well, just for your information, he used to cover his butt, and that's the only time when I gave a spanking, and I didn't give very many. But that was the only time I left a mark, was because he kept wiggling his butt around. And the doggone fly swatter that I was using, because I was taught by Dr. James Dobson on Christian radio that you never use your hand. Because the hand that loves should not be the hand that disciplines, right? So I would use something that I could grab a hold of. So I grabbed a fly swatter, and when he wiggled, the metal handle on the fly swatter hit him in the freaking butt. And he had to slip. And to this day, he's like, "You abused me. You beat me." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Come on, me and my dad at this place, okay? That was abuse. What I did with you was a miss. Swing and a miss, you know, I mean, so.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
he used to take his belts and he would hit them until they hit their hands. So he would hit their hands as well as their butts, like they'd be like this and he'd go.
And see, I didn't know a lot of this stuff.
And he was also mental abuse started when I was younger too, because he used to, I mean, you say a bad word or you talk back, sticks of soap, like a bar of soap in your mouth, you throw up on the floor because you've had it in your mouth for 15 minutes, then you have to clean it up. If, you know, if you make him mad for bedtime, he doesn't tuck you in. It was those things that made us like miss that love where we were like, I'm never gonna do that again because I want to be tucked in and I want to be writing a bedtime story or something like that, because you're so young. And I was so young. I was like, what, 4, 5?
Well, that's how you grow up learning,
Yeah.
not learning what unconditional love is. That's something that I always longed for. Unconditional love was something that I always longed for. I didn't know that I was missing it. You know, I probably didn't realize I wasn't missing it until I had my children. So 25, 27 is when I mean, I'm sure I know I got it from my aunts and uncles, but I didn't know that because of all those just things that I hear. I just love you and love everything about you because maybe I see myself a little bit, but you know, like that little bit of, like you say, you got back with your mom, you know, that you're friends now, that warms my heart so much. I never not loved my mom, but well, yeah, that's not even it. I had, oh, what's the word? You probably know, right? I was hurt by things my mom did and why she wasn't there. That's a good word. Yeah, when my mom was actively dying, she lived with me and my sisters and you know, I got something back from her I didn't even know she had to give when she was actively dying. She would lay there in bed and tell me, "I am so sorry, Wendy." And I didn't even know she was aware of the things she did, but she asked me for forgiveness. My own mother asked me for forgiveness. You know, I am so grateful that God did that to me. I didn't even know, you know, I don't want to say I ever hated her. I always loved my mom, but I was mad at her that she allowed this man to do this to me, that she pawned me off on my aunts and uncles, that, you know, but now at 56, well, even when she passed away at 40, you know, almost 10 years ago, I've grown so much in the last 10 years because I've realized that this has all molded me to who I am today, and I have so much to be grateful for. And yes, I have regrets about things I did. And the more I think about it and listen to you all and listen to everything here, I have forgiven myself. I just have so much remorse for what I have
That's a
done.
better word, yeah, yeah.
You know, that's really what it is. Yeah, I do.
That's, by the way, that's what a judge is looking for. If a judge sees remorse,
Been there.
they're gonna be really, really
Right,
empathetic.
sure.
They're trying to really empathize. And, you know, I have judges that are friends, you know,
Yeah.
and, so that's good that you said that. Yeah, remorse.
I like watching that you're healing already.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
just-
took.
It makes my heart feel so good.
I mean, I
It's
got into
awesome.
a relationship and I was so emotionally dependent on him for my stability. And then I kind of realized that, and I was like, I'm only happy when he's around. And he would like drag me around. He would like leave me on. He would break up.
Right, yeah, yeah.
He would break up with me and then get back with me the next day. And he hurt me over and over again. So just like feeling like I needed him to be stable, feeling like I needed him to be myself. And you were probably talking about.
Yeah, number one addiction, everybody raise your hand if you agree for yourself that codependency is the most common addiction that nobody ever wants to
Oh,
address,
right.
really want to talk about.
Absolutely.
Right? Other people to make you feel better.
Right,
You need that person, even if it's a marriage, it
Yep.
can be a very sick marriage, you might
Right.
think it's a healthy marriage. But I said that to Stan when we got together, we're not gonna be codependent.
Oh, did you, or,
Baby like it. Yeah, her uncle.
Yeah, it was,
it's never good when you're doing something just for someone else. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And I made
I mean, I
my,
stayed in my marriage too long for that reason.
right.
I was so emotionally, physically, spiritually hurt,
Yeah.
scarred, but I stayed for them. I don't regret it, but it really broke me.
And said you stayed in your marriage too long, you said. Yeah,
oh, I take that like.
yeah. So I was hopelessly codependent. So yeah,
Right.
I think I wanted to address codependency. It's one of the notes that he gave me at 3:30 in the morning to not forget codependency, no dependency, independency is all the sickness.
Mhm.
Right.
There's only one dependency that's okay. And she claimed it as like a bad addiction because she
Right.
called it religion, and religion is a bad addiction. What's a better addiction is dependency. Hallelujah.
And that's what's so wonderful about this is that a 15-year-old is already figuring it out.
Yep.
You know,
I had
praise God for that.
Hallelujah.
time to myself. And that's like one of the main reasons that I know so much that I do, because I was so tired of my father also. Everything was, he was very, very sexist. He did not like women, and maybe that was from his mom, and maybe that was from the girlfriend he was with, but he wouldn't let me play the drums. He wouldn't let me play the guitar. He wouldn't let me have Pokemon cards and let my brothers collect them. And all of the Pokemon cards I had were from my brothers. And now my mom makes it a point to buy me packs and we collect them together because she's so sad I missed out on that in my childhood. And I collect
Let
stuffed
me-
animals.
Let me
you know.
just insert with her as to what I believe the turning point was. Because I was ministering to my granddaughter, she maybe didn't know it, but I took her to Life Fest and she was watching our booth and how we were outreaching to the Christian community that goes to Oshkosh, each year and is like the largest Christian event in the state, right? So Sam and I started doing a booth there and she came to that booth and there was a bunch of young people that came and talked with her for like 2 hours. They just were, so they were showing her that love. They were showing her that concern. And since that has happened, and I gave her Hebraic Roots Bible at that point, she wanted all of them. So I gave her all the Hebrew Bibles because that's where we kind of gone back to Israel. But my point is, she did not follow the assignment like she should, but she has been reading the word. And I believe that what transforms any of us is the word.
You have to root yourself into something before you can discover other things.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I read on other religions because it's not a bad thing to learn what other people believe,
Right.
but you can talk to them about what they believe. And I've had debates with a lot of people. I've had debates with Muslims. I've had debates with like people who are into Hinduism, Hellenistic people, polytheists. I've had so many talks with so many different people, and it has opened my eyes to so many things. And I think that the basic like breeding ground for every religion has been Christianity as of right now, because so many kids are raised into it and brought into it, and then they get a little bit older and they learn about something else and they're like, wow, this works way better for me. And then they go to that. And that's like where a lot of people start out. So I agree with you that, you know, you start out in one thing and then you learn about a million different things and maybe pick something else.
Yep.
It's a good thing.
Anybody else from the crowd today here that we got that would like to maybe, give a word? It looks like you're ready to say something.
Suppose you want me on camera.
I'm scared.
I get. You don't want me to be on camera.
A big, long conversation.
But if you want to just say something right now, yeah. You want
No,
to,
as far as, I just would like to speak next. I'm dealing with some
oh,
technical issues, so.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. So yeah, Nathan's gonna be the next on the docket, but what did you want to say?
Basically, when somebody was talking about Christianity being the starting point. Unfortunately, that's accurate, but it should be the end point.
Yep.
If it were being taught right, if it were being exemplified right, if it were being taught right. It would be easy to see that it is the best that there is.
Yeah.
Because all the pain that we're talking about, the addictions, the sexual things, it was natural, perfectly fine and acceptable prior to Yeshua, Jesus showing up on stage.
Right.
It was referred to as pederast.
Mhm.
Okay, they thought it was normal. Okay.
Mhm.
Taking advantage of people was normal because no other society fought against it.
Right.
Okay. Throughout the Old Testament, okay, I realize it's not a proper term anymore. But until Yeshua came on the scene and broke humanity and in turn reunited them with their creator. No healing is possible.
Right.
Okay, societies can't try doing it, they tried, and again, when I say societies, I don't mean societies as a whole.
Mhm.
Right, I mean societies as a whole, but micro societies, which the 12 tribes were. They were a micro society beyond what was going on. Okay, outside of that, but even some of these sins like molestation and addiction and things like this, they would sneak their way in because of the adversary, who was more predominant in the polytheistic, situations. And then we start throwing other things in. Somebody mentioned talking about Muslims. They have a mockery. I'm not saying that to be disrespectful, just for the sake of being disrespectful, but if you go back and study or listen to those that have studied it and spent time in it, when you dig down into the Quran, they find that 95% of what's in the Quran was written over Jewish and Christian hymns.
Right.
And now we just gotta play it off as it's okay because it's just another one of the, another Abrahamic religion.
Yeah.
Which it's not.
Yeah, and we really gotta be careful to go not into the religious side of all of this because that is a huge subject, and guess what? That's on the schedule for what's called Solid Scripture Step 2. Today is Solid Scripture Step 1. So we're really not trying to dive in on the higher power part, okay? For those that are needing recovery and are coming to these events, I will cover all 12 of the solid scripture steps that are in the Transform Recovery textbook that I'm writing. It was supposed to be done, but with everything that's happened, I have not completed the first of 10 books that will be for Transform. But I probably will have it done while I'm here, because I'll be just grabbing everything. But there's 1,000 scriptures that's in that. And I want to make that real clear. We're not about any religion in what we're doing. We just read what it says, and Sand and I are studying the Aramaic and the Paleo-Abraic. You might say, well, what the heck is that? It's the language of our great grandfather and grandmother, Adam and Eve. It's the language that the Creator gave to them to communicate with up until the Tower of Babel. Okay, that's when all the languages, scattered, and that was the time of Abraham. So we have a language, and what Sand and I have found is that, and this is in another book that I'm writing also, English is the most evil, corrupted language, and it's the language of the end times. It's the language that's going to bring in the Antichrist. We in this country are so prideful, we think English is the greatest. No, once you start studying the real language that he gave us, and then look at this evil language, it'll blow your mind.
I just say,
And we're stuck. We're stuck in the United States because that's what everybody speaks. So these are things that'll be addressed, but that's going to really be addressed on another time. And Nathan has some physical things that are going on.
Yeah.
So I need to give him time to speak
Right.
because I don't want him to go through anything.
Yeah, that's okay. I will just say.
So we got to wrap it up, is what I'm saying, because we're going to take a break.
Whenever you start talking about like the cost of forgiveness, I would really like to speak again, unless you just want me to make my point right here, right
No, I'll bring you back up later, but because he is giving me what he's given me, I want to make sure that I take care of them. But thank you, and big round of applause for Sapphira. She really is totally amazing to me. But yeah, we're gonna play 3 songs. I'm gonna replay the song that Sand wrote because it's one of my favorites, and a couple other songs. So let's say 3 songs and then we'll come back. And you can cut that off if you. Well, wait, let the song come on first. Did you cut it off yet? Oh.
You want me to start it again or no?
Not so good. I can always add it in. I'm the editor too.
They say you knew me before I was new, together in my mother's womb. When I was destroying my life and racing for them. Was running with me. There was a reason going through the motion. When wasn't expecting it did not feel why. Is there a purpose for me? I know I still know I could love her like a sister, a friend, or a mother. Just a performer, a wearer of hats, an eloquent user of all kinds of mess. These are the people at the end of the day. Who can I be for you? I would say it wouldn't take to ask that something so sweet. Tell you my love. How did I get here? There's no way to be. Deep down, I knew there was more for me. Right after this, it's of my own regret. I didn't speak up, and I'll never forget it. The things that were done to me, and I did it. Not only a victim, but active participant. Way to heal it. and not even feel it. Shutting down at the basic level. Losing wrong paths to listen to devil. So many years told me to learn to get so resist it. Could not take the life desire was great. How can I do it? Because it's me. The same. Maybe the decision to stop placing blame. The past is the past, and a new day is now. Placing my trust in the one who knows how. Me forget now. What we went. He is my savior, my true was the friend. He's given me everything.
So this song is, oh, I can't be taking over. Yeah, spread the word. It helps people with songs. So it's really into not just to run the views on all of them. But there wasn't a. I have. You know how a parent would start to child in the workplace. This is not love that you start with those little ones. The 7 days was by the father, keeping us connected. They don't. Number 4.